Hi guys, so I'm back with a new video and let's talk about The Outsider. So a few months ago, like last year in November, I decided to make a comparison of Doctor Sleep, the movie, and the book because I read the book and I was really excited about the movie, and I thought, yeah, this is something that people might be interested in, to see the differences and the similarities. And when I started watching The Outsider, because I was reading the book at the same time, I thought, well, I should do this again, like compare the book to the movie. And this time I think my comparison is a lot more accurate because, as I said, I was reading basically at the same time as I was watching. Like, I read half of the book and I started watching the show, and when I came across an episode that had that or could have something that I haven't read yet, I decided to read a bit more and then watched the next episode. So yeah, I was basically reading and watching at the same time. So this comparison, I feel like it's really accurate, which is good for you. So without further ado, let's go into it. Just a side note, I'm sorry if I'm looking down, but I had to do a lot of research and just like write down stuff, so I have everything in a notebook. So yeah, I might be looking down because I can't remember every single thing. So if you don't know what The Outsider is, what the movie or the book are about, right away, this is one of Stephen King's most recent books. I think this came out in 2008, the book, obviously. And this is basically about a man that is accused of a murder, but he couldn't have done it because he was somewhere else at the same time. So this raises a question: how can someone be in two places at the same time? Because witnesses saw him the day of the murder with the kids that got murdered, but he was somewhere else. So yeah, this is the basic premise. But before I get into specifics, just a like overall look at the series, when it comes to being accurate. Overall, I think this is like really true to the book. They had it a bit easier because it's a show, so there's multiple episodes, and they can get in the show basically everything that is in the book. So that's an advantage, because a movie has to cut out a lot of things, but a show can keep the majority of the book. However, there's some things they changed that kind of annoy me, like in an overall thing. As the names, they changed names of the characters, last names, names of places, and I just think that's odd, because why not just keep the same names as in the book? Like, that's weird. And I researched that and I couldn't find an answer for that change. So if you guys know, please tell me in the comments, because that's one of the things that I just don't understand why. However, there's stuff that I really liked, like Ben Mendelsohn as Ralph. I must say he wasn't the person that I was envisioning when I was reading the book, but I really liked him as the character, even though I'm not even like a huge fan of him. Like, I don't have anything against him, but yeah, he's just not an actor that I really admire, but I really liked him in this role. And as I said, they keep everything that is in the book, but they add even more, which kind of annoyed me because they started out really well with the first 4 episodes being really true to the book and ended pretty true to the book as well. Like the 3 last episodes were really similar to the book, I mean. But then there's 3 episodes in the middle, 5, 6, and 7 that are just completely made up, which is something you have to keep in mind. And I actually researched, and the producers, the directors, the people who made the show said that they had to fill 10 hours of a TV show. They didn't have enough to from the book to fill all those hours, which is weird because they could have made the show shorter. They could have made it 8 episodes instead of 10. They could have made episodes shorter, like 45 minutes, 40 minutes instead of 50 to an hour. So yeah, that's not really an excuse, to be honest, but I let it pass because most of the show is pretty true to the book. With that said, let's get into specifics and let's start on a good note and talk about what they did right, aka what is really similar to how it goes in the book. As I was saying, the first episode are really similar to the book. The first episode, mainly like Terry's arrest, is just like I imagined. Oh, by the way, needless to say that this is going to have a lot of spoilers, like from the book and from the show. So, as I was saying, so Terry's arrest is like just like I imagined. The interview of the witnesses is pretty much exactly like in the book, and as well as the structure, because in the book we read the interview of one witness and then we go to present day and then we read the interview of another witness. So yeah, the structure is also there, which is nice. Then all the things that Alec Pelly finds out that make Terry innocent, like all the evidence of him being somewhere else, is also pretty accurate to the book. The disintegration of the Peterson family is also just like I imagined, like the heart attack of the mom, the dad trying to kill himself, and then Fred Peterson killing Terry, and then getting killed by Ralph. It's basically exactly like it happens in the book. So those first episodes, as I was saying, I can't really complain. Something else that I can complain is the barn scene when Jack arrives late after all the police and CSIs and everyone leaves the barn. If you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about, or if you read the book. Like him going there and then encountering the outsider, and when the outsider touches his neck and creates those burns, that scene freaked me out so much in the book, and I was really happy that they got it pretty spot on the show. That was for sure one of my favorite scenes in the book and in the show. Then introducing Ollie. Ollie isn't exactly how she is in the book, but it didn't bother me at all, because I think it's because I like Cynthia Erivo. But yeah, Ollie was fine with me, the changes that they made with the character, but they did keep the story of what she does, like how she goes to the hospital or the place where Terry's father is, to find out more about the time that Terry visited, and the fact that she finds out about El Cuco. They keep everything in the show, and that is how it happens in the book. Her going to cemetery and abandoned places to take photos, that is also in the book. And there's a lot of other things that are just either like in the book or as I imagined them. So Jeannie is also the one that leads them to Cloud Bolton, although not the way that it happens in the book, which I'll get into that. Something else that I really liked, not only that they kept in the show, but how they did it, was the caves. The caves are a major part of the end of the book, and I was kind of afraid that they wouldn't use the caves and come up with something else, but they did, and they were just like how I imagined them, or even better, because it was a bit difficult for me to envision those caves. And then that whole like final episode was really spot on, like Jack going after them, Jack like going up to those rocks to then kill them, him getting bitten by the snake. The whole gunfight is pretty exactly like it happens in the book, with the same people getting killed. So I'm happy that they didn't come up with different stuff. And obviously then the very end, that Ralph and Aldi go to the cave. They are the only ones that go in the book. It isn't exactly how it happens in the show, but I can forgive that. But the very, very end is slightly different, so I guess we're going to that now. As I said, they had to change a few things and come up with new stuff because of the 10 hours that they had. So there's stuff that they changed and that they added up. So let's talk about those. One thing that it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because he's not really part of the book either, but Derek, Ralph's and Ginny's son, he's not there in the book and he is there in the show. In the whole book he's away at summer camp or something like that, so it doesn't really matter, but yeah, they changed that. Again, as I said, they changed a few names, such as Awie's last name, the DA's name is completely different, Terry's daughter's names are also different, as well as Terry's wife, and they also changed the name of the stripper club. Yeah, I don't really get that, so that is the one thing that really bothers me. Also, the outsider doesn't appear as soon as it appears in the show. Like in the first episode, we get a glimpse of a person, something, and it just basically halfway through the book that they realize that something is there, and there's no outsider mentioned in the book until almost the middle of the book, which didn't bother me, to be honest. I really liked the book, so yeah. But I get that they had to like show something to make the audience interested, so yeah. In the show, they make people interact with each other a lot more, such as Ralph and Yoon go to the Merlin kid, the kid who stole the van, to get more information, and in the book they never go to him and they learn the information through another police officer. In the book, Ralph also doesn't go to therapy. I also read that they introduced that so we understood him a bit better in the show, but in the book he never goes to therapy, and when he has problems he talks with his wife. And overall Ralph is a lot more liked by the other characters in the book. People like him a lot more in the book than in the show, and one example of that is when they go to Terry's daughter to know more about the guy, the man, the thing that she sees and the messages that this outsider tells her. In the book it's Ralph who talks with her, and in the show it's Jeannie, Ralph's wife. And yeah, that shows how people are a bit on the fence with him on the show. Also, when they talk with the daughter in the show, she never mentions the eyes of the outsider, which are a big part of the book. That description that she gives in the book really scared me, and really creeped me out, and I was kind of sad they didn't go there in the show. But yeah. Then there's the whole thing with Jack that doesn't happen. Jack is the character that is less similar to the book, is like really different in the show. As for example, the whole thing and how the outsider terrorizes him is really different in the book. When he gets beaten, he never gets beaten in the book, just the burns in his back. And when he like kidnaps Holly, he never does that in the book. That whole thing never happens in the book. And he never like goes to apologize to Ralph and be part of the team. Like he never knows about the outsider and what Holly tells them. Like that never happens in the book. Like he's really in the bad guy side in the book, and he's not like redeemable at all, which kind of bothered me, to be honest. Like I wanted him to be like real bad as he is in the book. He's despisable in the book. Then in the same context, there's the whole thing of Holly going to New York to find another innocent person. That also never happens in the book. Another thing about Holly that is never in the book is the whole thing with her lover, Andy. That character isn't in a book. It's a completely made up character, or if it's not made up, it's from another book, because Holly is a character from Mrs. Mercedes, and they vaguely mention that in the book, but that is never mentioned in the show, which I think is nice because I didn't know. As I said before, like the way they get to Claude Bolton and that whole final act is really different. Like Jeannie never talks about the tattoos in the show, which is how it happens in the book. Instead, she draws Claude Bolton. Yeah, I was a bit sad they didn't mention the tattoos and that whole thing, but like when he gets there at night, that's how it happens in the book. So it was half similar, half different. I guess I was fine. When they have that meeting where Holly tells them about El Cuco, the meeting is slightly different in the book. As for example, they all believe Holly basically right away. Ralph is the only one that doesn't really believe on El Cuco, and they also come up with a plan right away, while in the show it takes a few more days for them to get to Claude Bolton and to like understand and believe about the outsider, aka El Cuco. There's also a few things about Claude that change, such as he never really quits his job. In the book, he's just on vacation, and he's on vacation at his mom's house, but in the show he goes to his brother's house. They switched that. I don't know why, but I can imagine, because in the book the brother is dead, the mom is alive, and in the show it's the other way around. The brother is alive and mom is dead. I guess it makes more sense that the mom would be dead, but yeah, there's no explanation for a few things that they changed. And when they go to Claude Bolton, initially Howie and Alec Pelly don't go with the others. Eventually they also get there, but they initially decide not to go, and I think there was to foreshadow that they're the ones who die, and they actually die in the show as well as in the book. So I was happy and I liked that foreshadowing. I don't know if it was on purpose, but I read it that way and I liked it. However, there's a few things when they are at Claude Bolton's house that don't really happen, such as the outsider kidnapping a kid, and that is what makes Ralph believe on the outsider. Yeah, by that time in the book he already believes, and there's no need for another kid to almost be kidnapped in the book. But yeah, that didn't bother me. However, Claude never learns about the plan that they have to go into the cave, and in the show he does, and then he goes to the gunfight scene with the others, and yeah, he never goes there and he never sees the outsider, which is the next thing that happens. In the final episode, he goes after the outsider. Ralph and Ollie are already in the cave and talking with the outsider, and then Claude Bolton shows up and like he shoots the outsider, and that doesn't happen in the book, but I feel like it makes sense, and yeah, I guess it just fills up a few more minutes. And in the very end, in the show, Jack kills himself. In the book, Ralph kills him. And Ralph is the one that kills the outsider in the show, when in the book it's Ollie who kills him, and I preferred that Holly killed him. I preferred the book version, also because in the book when she kills him, worms come out of his head, and it looked more epic and a lot more gross than what happens in the show. But yeah, I liked the ending of the book better, although it wasn't the best ending either. And then there's the post-credit scenes, which raised a lot of talk. In my opinion, that's just something to like give an open ending, but I think there's nothing there. Like, we are led to believe that maybe Ollie is the outsider, or the outsider became Holly because she has a scratch. I don't think so. I don't believe it. I feel like the outsider is dead. That's done. She's Holly. And yeah. So these are the differences and similarities between The Outsider, the book, and the show. As I said before, I'm pretty happy with how the show turned out. Yes, they changed a lot of things, but they also kept the majority of the book in the show, and they stayed true to most of the events, and some that I thought they wouldn't go there. I still prefer the book over the show, but I think that's common. Usually the books are better than the movie or the show. But if you read the book and you prefer the show, let me know in the comments and let me know why. I will recommend you read the book and then watch the show if you haven't done either. But if you've watched the show, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Did you like it? And if you've read the book, also let me know what you thought about it. And yeah, if you caught some more differences and similarities, also tell me in the comments. And I guess that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and I'll see you in my next video.